So uh, the remaining part of simply supported beam design is discussed here. So in shear design, so before starting the shear design, let's discuss the basic theory of shear design. So what is shear force? The shear force is the force in beam acting perpendicular to its longitudinal axis. So it means this is a tangential force which is acting vertically or maybe horizontally. So due to that force, the sliding occur is the one portion and another portion. The shear force is acting, then they are slide one over another. Okay, due to that the sliding took place. So maybe the horizontal shear or vertically shear, both shear are considered. So the shear force which is beam acting perpendicular to its longitudinal axis. So due to the shear force, a tangential stress is acting. So due to that force, the sliding occur. So mathematical formula for shear force is dm by dx is equal to v. Okay. So the change of bending moment per unit length is called the shear forces. Means this is a slope of bending moment diagram equal to shear force. And you know that so the shear applied load create a shear force, and the shear force develop the shear stress inside the member. So due to the shear stress, the shear crack is developed, and it is maximum at 45-degree angle. If I write the expression, then you find that shear stress is maximum at 45-degree angle. Okay. So it means the shear crack also propagate or occur at 45-degree angle because it is maximum at 45-degree angle. Okay. So here I draw the figure, that is simply supported beam, and and one element is considered. You see that the shear crack occur approx at 45-degree angle. So along that line the crack will occur. If it is failed in shear, so the crack will occur along this line. Okay, this is a element shear stress picture. So you see that here the vertical shear is acting, which is in upward direction. So the opposite force, opposite shear acting on the back side, on the opposite side, that is tau, and similarly the horizontal shear is also acting, that is tau dash. So the under this shear stress, this is in equilibrium, and this tau and tau dash is called complementary shear. So due to that shear, the cracks are developed. So those cracks are called shear cracks, and you see that here the tension due to that stress, here the tension is acting, so pulling occur. So due to that force, so rupture will occur along this direction, is that 45-degree with longitudinal axis. So you know that members are mainly designed for flexor. You already designed the members. uh, for flexor. So now we are going to design the member for shear. So the what sections we have used and what reinforcement we provide, that must able to resist shear forces, because due to transverse load the shear force is developed, so it should resist the shear forces. So that you have to ensure the shear capacity should be adequate. Now the concept of nominal shear stress. This is a section of a beam and this is a neutral axis. So the shear stress, because shear force is the applied shear forces and stress developed inside the member, okay, inside the section. So the shear stress is varying parabolically and it is maximum at the neutral axis, and again it is gradually decreasing and finally it zero at the bottom, okay. But the nominal shear force in quote, this actual shear stress distributions are not considered, the average shear stress are considered, which is called nominal shear stress, which is equal to VU is the applied shear force, VU upon B into D. D is the effective depth. So only this stress is considered, that is called the average shear. So as per code, shear design has the following step has to be followed. The following step you have to, these steps you have to follow. First you calculate nominal shear force which is developed due to applied shear forces. Okay, the average shear force is calculated using this expression. Calculate the nominal shear forces. Then you compute tau c from table 19, where tau c is called the shear resistance of concrete. So the shear, the capacity of the concrete that we calculate, that is denoted by tau c, which is given in table 19. Now if tau v means the applied shear stress less than tau c, it means shear reinforcement is not required. So if the tau v less than tau c means the applied shear force, if the shear capacity of the section is more than applied shear force, so it means what? The shear reinforcement is not required. If the section is sufficient to resist the shear forces. But code said minimum shear reinforcement, although the shear reinforcement is not required, but you have to provide minimum shear reinforcement. Codal formulae has mentioned to compute minimum shear reinforcement, which is given page number 72 and IS 456 2000. So it is given clause number 40.2.3. You see that if tau v less than tau c, minimum shear reinforcement shall be provided. Okay. Now this is a table 19. So using this table, you find out the tau c and the minimum shear reinforcement formula is this. This is the minimum shear reinforcement formula, where ASB means area of vertical stirrup legs. Okay, suppose if I use 8-5 stirrup, so vertical stirrup legs means the two-legged stirrups are used. Okay, in this way the reinforcement are used. So this is a one leg, this is another leg. So the ASP is how much? So area of two leg means the 2 into pi by 4 into 8 square. Okay. And the SV is the spacing of the stirrups. So in beam so this is the spacing. This distance is called spacing of stirrups. So tau c, how you calculate? So find out PT 100 into AST by BD, and for different grade of concrete means we are using the grade of concrete M20. So for different PT value you calculate tau c value. The unit is Newton per millimeter square. If any intermediate value, for any intermediate value, the linear interpolation has been made. If tau v more than tau c, then shear reinforcement is required. As per code, if the tau v exceed tau c given in table 19, shear reinforcement shall be provided in any of the following form. So generally, so in different form you can use the shear reinforcement. So generally the most common is the vertical stirrups are used. Okay, we are using vertical stirrup, two-legged vertical, such type of stirrups are used. We can also use bent up bars along with stirrups. So in this way bent up bars are used. Reinforcement, bent up bars. So here the bars comes and then it will bend. The bent up bar also you can provide, or you may use inclined stirrup. And so this is a very important check that you have to do in shear design. The tau b should be less than tau c max. The tau c max value is given in table 20 for different grade of concrete. The tau c max values are given. So you check the applied shear should not be more than tau c max. If it is more than tau c max, then the section should be redesigned. Means you have to change the section size, reinforcement. Okay, or maybe grade of concrete, grade of steel. So inclined stirrup, you see, find out the spacing of stirrups using the Caudal Benson formula. Using that formula you can find out spacing of the stirrups, whereas VUS is what is VUS, which is equal to VU minus tau c BD. Okay, and Fy is known, area of vertical stirrup legs known, D is known, only the unknown is SB, spacing of stirrup. So this is the applied shear minus the strength capacity, the shear resistance of the concrete, so that you subtract and get the spacing of the stirrup. So now, so this is all about theory. Now the in step 8, the shear designs are made. So first you compute VU is computed in step 2, which is the WL by 2. So you verify it. So tau V is equal to VU by BD using the expression, and page number 47, 48, 72 and 73. Okay, the value is 0.52. Now for PT 0.53 from step 7, we know the PT is how much. PT is provided. So for M20, the tau C value is obtained from table 19. The value is tau C is equal to 0.50 Newton per millimeter square. So here tau V less than tau C. So it means as per code minimum shear reinforcement is required. Let us use two-legged 8-phi stirrup codal formulae to get the spacing of stirrups. So area of stirrup, we have find out two-legged stirrups. So 2 into pi by 4 8 square. This is a formulae for minimum spacing of stirrup mentioned in code. So using that formulae, we get the spacing of the stirrups. How much? 437.1 mm center to center distance. But as per code, maximum spacing of stirrup is mentioned, that is 3D. So you check the clause number 26.5.1.5, the maximum spacing, that is 0.75 D or 300 mm, whichever is less. So what comes, 3D or 300? So you can use 300, but to get for the better confinement, we use another. This is also standard spacing we have considered. So that is provided two-legged 8-phi for better confinement. We use the lesser spacing, that is 100 center to center. Although it comes 300, but we provide 100 center to center. Now the next, the very important check that you have to check in every design, in every RC member design, that is the development length. So generally it was seen that at site this criteria is properly checked. So if this criteria is not fulfilled, this criteria is not fulfilled, then what happened, then the local failure will occur or the cracks took place. So basically the member is failed if the adequate development lengths are not used. So due to the inadequate development length, the member is failed or the cracks comes, and the structural life is reduced. So this length has to be checked properly. So let us discuss the theory of development length. So what is development length and what are the parameters we have considered? So the definition is, so you know that the reinforcement bar is embedded into the concrete. Now the stress developed in reinforcing bar, so mainly the tensile stress, that is transferred to the surrounding concrete, and that has to be transferred to the concrete safely, and and you know that the steel makes a good bond with concrete. So through bond the force is transferred to the concrete, from steel to concrete. So this is the definition: length required for reinforcing bar to transfer tensile stress to the surrounding concrete to meet required bond stress. Now what are the factors which influence development length? Now the development length is inversely proportional to the grade of steel, not inversely proportional. This is FCK and FCK and this is proportional to Fy. Okay, so it means if the development length inversely proportional to the grade of concrete, it means the grade of concrete is more, so it is the less development length is required. Whereas if the grade of steel is more, then the more development length is required. And also, sorry, 1 by Fy, so means the if strength is more, then the development length required less. And if the diameter of the main bar is more, then the more development length is required. So the factors involved in LD, so it depend on grade of concrete, grade of steel, and diameter of the bar. So grade of concrete inversely, development length is inversely proportional to the grade of concrete, inversely proportional to the yield stress, and proportional to diameter of the bar. Now the effects of inadequate LD means if I use less development length, if the development lengths are not checked properly, if the less development lengths are used, then what happen? Then bar may be pulled out from the support. Okay, so the bar is anchored or into the support, bar is inside the support, so bar may be pulled out from the support if the development length is inadequate. So finally the local failure will take place. Locally the portion which has the mass stress, so these portions are failed. Okay, the local cracks occur at the cutoff point of the reinforcing bar, where the bar is cut off, so where the bar is terminated. So at that point, if the development lengths are not adequate, then the local failure will occur. Crack will be occur at the critical zone. In the critical zone, the cracks will be occur. Critical zone means where the bending moment is maximum, where the bar is cut off. Okay, so in that portion the local failure will occur. Now the derivation of LD. So although code has given the formulae, to find out the development length. So now we want to derive the development length expression. Let us consider uniformly loaded cantilever beam. You know that cantilever beam, the cantilever beam is where this beam is here the one end is fixed, another end is free. The beam which has one end is fixed, another end is free. So such beams are called cantilever beam, and generally these beams are tapered section, okay, which has been designed to resist the given factor bending moment and shear force. Let assume the diameter of tension reinforcement is phi. The diameter of the bar is phi, the free body diagram of bar segment AB. So you see that this is a cantilever beam and the reinforcement is applied at the top because hogging bending moment took place, because you know that the cantilever, the hogging bending moment take place, okay, the bending moment is negative. So such type of bending took place, that is the hogging bending moment. So it means in hogging bending moment above neutral axis tensile stress is developed, so you have to apply the reinforcement at top, leaving the clear cover, okay. So in hogging bending moment reinforcement is applied at top, whereas in sagging bending moment reinforcement is applied at bottom. And in cantilever generally the tapered section are used, such type of sections which is called taper. It is minimum at the free end, and it is linearly increasing, and maximum at support. So this segment we have considered, that is the AB. So this diagram is drawn. So here the tensile forces, and the force is transferred to the concrete through bond, okay. The what stress is developed in steel, that is transferred to the surrounding concrete. It is embedded into the concrete, so through bond it will transfer, and the bond strength is tau BD. So the tensile force at B is equal to, this is the diameter of the bar, area into stress. Stress value is Fy, because the yield strength are considered in design. So and this is a design strength, design stress. So 1.15 is considered, 1.15 is factor of safety is divided, and we will get the design stress. So design stress into area, so we get the tensile forces. Now this force is transmitted to concrete by bond stress in the embedded length AB is equal to LD. So this length is called LD, where the tau BD is the bond stress, which is defined as the shear force per unit of nominal surface area of reinforcing bar. It is acting over the surface area by phi LD. So this length is LD, which is acting over the reinforcing, which is acting over the surface of the reinforcing bar. So this is a shear force, okay. This is through bond force is transferred to the concrete. So the area is pi phi LD, okay. The area of pi phi surface area into LD. So we get the surface area. Now apply the equilibrium equation. This force should be equal to that forces, okay, which is opposite. Now this is the bond stress and this is applied tensile force. So from equating these two force, we get the development length expression, which is 0.7 Fy into phi by 4 tau Bd, or LD is equal to 5 del S by 4 tau Bd, which is exactly same as given in code. You see that this expression is given, which is LD phi stress S stress in the bar, which is equal to 0.87 Fy, and the tau Bd values are given in clause number 26.2.1.1. okay, for different grade of concrete. Okay, the values are given for M20 1.2, and if I use deform bar, then the above value is increased 60%. Is the 1.2 into 1.6. So this is the tau Bd value if I use deform bar. So generally the deform bars are used, plain bars are not used, deform bars. So the what bars we are using in design, that is a deform bar. So that's why this bond stress is multiplied with 1.6, because the 60% value has to be increased. So the 1.6 is multiplied. Now the anchoring is very important to get a stronger connection, to make the connection, to increase the strength of the connection. The anchoring is very important. So if it is anchored with support properly, then the structure is safe. So anchoring is done. So what is the definition of the anchoring? The length required, the length required for development of stress in the reverse. This is obtained by providing the required development length or hook or bend if sufficient length cannot be achieved. So if the development length is insufficient, so that we fulfill giving the, if the anchors are used, then the development length is also increased. Okay, and it is anchored, it is connected with support firmly if the anchoring is done, and also the development length is also increased as per code. So normal practice is longitudinal bar, means the main bar is bent upward at right angle, and it is inside the support to make a strong connection. For stirrup also it is again anchored to ensure the confinement of the bar. For the confinement, to make the to confine the bars, or to increase the confinement, this bar is anchored. It is firmly connected with the longitudinal bar. So the confinement is increased if I use the anchor. So the anchoring is done. Now, so how the stirrups are anchored? Most common and standard anchoring of the stirrup. So this is the vertical stirrups, then it will bend, and the the angle is 135 degree angle, and around 35 degree angle is bent, and the extension, this extension is minimum is how much, that is 6.5 as per code. For longitudinal bar, the bar is anchored with the support into the support, and it is bent upward, and the extension is 4.5. So where the curve is end, so from that curve, from that point, the extension, minimum extension is how much, that is 4.5, whereas in stirrup the minimum extension is 6.5. Now the anchorage value, when it is anchored, the development length is also increased. So anchorage value is taken as 4.5 for each 45 degree bend, subjected to maximum of 16.5. So it means if the, so here the longitudinal bar is bent at 90 degree, so the anchorage value is 8.5, because each 45 degree bend. If bend is 90 degree, then anchorage value is 8.5. If the bend is 180 degree, if the suppose the bar is anchored in this way, such type of hooks are made, then the anchorage value is 16.5. So that's why code said that the maximum of 16.5, because the 180 degree the bend is 180 degree, and the, so each 45 degree bend is the 4 into 4. So this anchoring is always made for get the better confinement, and also the staying strong connection. Also it is firmly, the member is firmly connected with support, and if the inadequate development length, so the anchoring is then the anchoring is made. But the good practice is always you anchor the bar inside the support, and also in stirrup also it is anchored. So here the anchoring guidelines are given. You see that here the different anchoring are made. You see that at least 6 bar diameter. The anchorage value of the bend shall be taken as 4 times the diameter of the bar for each 45 degree bend. So all the guidelines are given in code, and the provisions are given. So we just following the codal guideline to design the members, and anchoring are made. Now in step 9, so the very important check, that is check development length. First we find out development length using the expression, which is 5 del s by 4 tau bd, and tau b is taken from IS 456 M20 grade of concrete. It is 1.2, and the above value is increased 60% for deformed bar. So the tau bd value is 1.92. So we get the 56.65 for M20 grade of concrete and Fe 500 steel. So the development length is 9045 5.6. As per code, this development length should be less or equal this amount 1.3 m1 by v plus L0. Now whereas L0 is called anchorage value, the main bar is anchored into the support. Here standard 90-degree bends are used, so 90-degree bends are used, so that's why the anchorage value is 85 means 96 mm. So this expression value is 2343.6 mm and development length which is less or equal this value. So as per code, hence it is okay. So this is a codal provisions I have shown, that is a m1 by v plus L0, where m is the moment resistance which we already computed. So this is the after providing steel, the calculate the moment resistance, and v is the shear forces, L0 is the anchorage value. What type of anchorage are made, depending on that the anchorage values are computed. So this is a reinforcement. Now the reinforcement details are shown, longitudinal reinforcement. So this figure, figures are drawn in AutoCAD. So the stirrups are used, the main bar, and this is top bars are used, so which are not required, but for making the reinforcement cage and also to hold the stirrups, so these bars are required. So as per code, minimum 2 bar you have to provide to make the reinforcement cage. Otherwise, when the concreting are done, so if it is open or if it is not confined properly, the cage are not made properly, and if the bars are not confined properly, then when the concreting are done, so that time the bars are displaced. So so that's why the confinement has to be maintained, and proper confinements are required. So that it is, so that's why it is anchored, as well as this 2 bar, minimum 2 bar you have to provide in the compression zone, although it is not required, but for making the reinforcemental cage and for the confinement of the bars are required. And this is a vertical stirrup which is again anchored in the compression zone around the, it is generally given, generally how it give, it is around the longitudinal bar and anchored in the compression zone. Clear? So here the spacings are given. So this is 85 at the rate of 100 center to center. This is a long view, longitudinal view, and the cross sectional cut the beam along this line, and the sectional views are drawn here. Okay, the overall depth, beam size are given. 3 numbers 16, 5 are used, and 2 numbers 12 are used, and the 2-legged, 2 in the superscript L means 2-legged 85 stirrup at the rate 100 center to center. So for exam purpose, so in this way you have to design the members. So this step you follow, so that we already mentioned, have mentioned in previous slide. Now this is a very important thing, assignment for RC design and building. Design session, I make one copy for each theory and session. I mean both paper, one theory and practical. So this problem I have given, so just following the steps. So you design the beam and draw the reinforcement details. Okay, so here I end my lectures. Thank you. and if you have any doubt and problem, you can contact to this number 758-840-26-744. Okay, this is my number. My name is Ohik Sahu. So you can contact to us here, or you can, if you have any problem, doubts, you can ask in WhatsApp message, in Gmail, in email, or you can over phone, you can ask. So this problem you design. Okay, so here I end my lectures. Thank you.